Now, Tuesday this week sees Business Unity South Africa, BUSA, holding its Business Economic Indaba. Now, they say that this will be one of the most important working sessions between business and government this year, and will help define the future of the South African economy. Well, to tell us a little bit more and what they hope to achieve, I'm now joined by BUSA President Sipho Pityana. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. Welcome.
Peter, thank you very much, and greetings to your viewers.
All right, so this Indaba kicks off tomorrow, yes. And the question might be, why is it so important this year?
Well, we're meeting tomorrow, but there's been interaction, multimedia interaction, Facebook and other social media engagements with a stream of suggestions of what needs to be done. You'll have seen that I've also taken part in those conversations through a number of op-eds that one has done in the media. The purpose really is to make sure that the various constituencies in business are in the middle of a conversation with government as it prepares to set the agenda for the year and indeed reflect on the next few years. It's very critical because the economy is in a particularly precarious place. Every business organization you can think of will be there, led by their chairman and president or CEOs of the organizations and other senior business leaders. We have had interactions with governments in various ways and other social partners. So what this is about is basically looking at what concrete actions we think need to be taken that can shift the envelope. We don't want this to be a moaning session, but we have shared reflections on the nature of the current status of the economy in order to characterize and help everybody understand where we are and why we're making certain proposals.
All right, so you've had interactions between business and government, different incarnations, different forms, but we keep coming back to the same place. So what's going to be different about this?
Well, we've had, this is our second Business Economic Indaba. The inaugural one was around this time last year. And there are a number of things that arose from that, by the way. We nailed the issues around tourism, around spectrum, around the need for enabling access to skills in different places. And a lot of that shaped the conversation between government and business, as well as labor and the community constituency in the conversations that we have every month since the elections with the president chairing them. And on a number of those, we've agreed a certain measurable steps to be taken. And the president has given a great deal of his time to engage with us, more often than not, very difficult and uncomfortable conversations about why things are not moving in different places and what needs to be done. And he's called some of the ministers to take part in that, as well as some of the senior officials. It begins to feel that we have the makings of a meaningful partnership. So what we're doing with this one is to build on that, is to look at how we can, given the pressure that is there on the economy, take some of the major difficult decisions that we have, from our perspective, have been avoided.
We'll talk about those decisions just now, but I do want to refer to an opinion piece that you wrote in the Financial Mail where you said that business has long pressed President Cyril Ramaphosa to take tough action, but the government fails to see the urgency. Take us through what you were thinking when you wrote that.
Well, the tough action speaks to the fact of the matter is that our economy is impaired because of the nature and the character of its structure. So there is an urgent need for structural reforms, which means we need to look at the fundamentals that make our economy to underperform. After all, we have other emerging market economies performing at 4% and above, and there's no reason why South Africa shouldn't be. Remember that about 12 years ago, we were at 5.5% economic growth level. It is possible for us to grow this economy at that level. The reason why we are not is because of the paths that we have chosen. And also, we think that there is a train coming at us that we need to avoid, which is that given the escalation in our debt position and continued demands on the fiscus, we are putting ourselves in a very difficult situation. It's difficult in that to look to cut your budget and to look to cut public spending has consequences, by the way, for all of us as South Africans, business included, because we are suppliers to government. So when government cuts spending, it's likely to cut contracts and services that we provide to them. So all of us will take the pain, but it's a short-term pain for long-term gain from our perspective.
All right, so what does that mean? What might that mean for state-owned entities? I mean, like SAA, that seems like a sinking hole.
Well, when we rid ourselves of ideological posturing, the reality of the matter is that the fiscus doesn't have the capability to keep all of the state-owned entities. So when you have that situation, you have to make a call. Which ones are strategic and critical that you can't do without, and focus on ensuring that you put your resources in ensuring that those are saved. You may be in a position in doing different forms of restructuring, of bringing in private players in those that may not be as strategic. So you don't have to close them and cost jobs and all of that, but you bring private sector investment in a way that saves them. Others may be so marginal and insignificant that it's not necessary to save them. It's better to sell them because they take a lot of resources. So the strategy must look at what is it that we do with the restructuring of state-owned entities that best positions us to attract investment, defend jobs, and improve efficiency, because these state-owned entities are very powerful in the South African economy. They contribute. I mean, South African government fixed investment in the economy is more than 30%. So it's a big presence in the economy.
All right. So the other thing is government says you, Mr. Pityana, Mr. Businessman, are sitting on reserves. You're not investing in the economy, and that's why it's not growing. So why is business hesitant to jump in, and yet you want government to take action urgently?
Well, what do you invest in? Key things around what we're talking about is creating an environment that enables business to invest. I guess the chicken and an egg situation. When we talk spectrum, for instance, it's because we believe that as a result of rollout of spectrum, there would be huge opportunities for investment in the communications space, and it will have a multiplier effect, opening up other opportunities for investment elsewhere. When you talk about looking at the transport and logistics space and ending Transnet's monopoly, you're not just looking about restructuring of that, you're creating opportunities for investment, possibly of high capital hungry infrastructure that government can't afford, but is necessary for the economy, but brings huge amounts of foreign direct investments. And I think the Treasury discussion paper on restructuring of the economy is beginning to speak to those things. Where are the catalysts that will see us attract big ticket investments in the economy, both by local and international investors? This country has a lot going for it. We just must take bold decisions to ensure that we unlock that potential.
All right, and perhaps finally, to close this conversation, give me a few points that you're going to impress upon government at the Indaba tomorrow.
Well, we agree with the Minister of Finance that there is no time to wait. We need to make sure that we introduce economic structural reforms urgently. We need to focus on quick restructuring of state-owned entities. We need to focus on ensuring diversification of sources of electricity supply. The Eskom monopoly compromises our economy, and indeed we'll focus on what it is that needs to be done to fix Eskom.
BUSA President Sipho Pityana, thanks so much for joining us, and we wish you the best of luck with your engagements tomorrow with government.
Thank you very much. We need that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right.